What would you do if you broke down on a desert highway at 3 a.m. and realized the tow truck driver who stopped wasn't really there to help you? How long would you last in an abandoned town if you discovered you weren't as alone as you thought? These stories were submitted by real people. The names have been changed, but everything else happened exactly as you're about to hear. So turn off the lights, put in your headphones, and whatever you do, don't listen to this alone. This happened to me 3 years ago, and I still take the long way around to avoid that stretch of highway. I was driving from Las Vegas to Reno for my sister's wedding. It was around 2:30 in the morning because I'd gotten off work late and needed to make it by noon the next day. The highway was completely empty, not a single car for miles. Just endless black desert on both sides. About an hour outside of Tonopah, my check engine light came on. Then my car started shaking. I'm not a car guy, so I had no idea what was happening. Within minutes, the whole thing just died. Coasted to a stop on the shoulder. I tried to restart it. Nothing. Not even a click. I grabbed my phone. No signal, of course. I was in literally the deadest zone in Nevada. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes watching the highway. Not a single car passed. The silence was oppressive. Have you ever experienced true silence? It's not peaceful. It's suffocating. Then I saw headlights. Way off in the distance, coming from the direction I'd been heading. I got out of my car and waved my arms. As it got closer, I could see it was a tow truck. White, kind of old looking. I couldn't believe my luck. The truck pulled over about 30 feet ahead of me. The driver's door opened, and this guy stepped out. He was tall, wearing a baseball cap and a jacket with a towing company logo I didn't recognize. He had a flashlight and walked toward me. Trouble? He asked. His voice was raspy, like a longtime smoker. Yeah, my car just died. No warning. Can you give me a tow to the nearest town? He looked at my car, then back at me. Sure can. But it's gonna cost you. That's fine, whatever it takes. He smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Let me hook you up. He walked back to his truck, and I went to grab my wallet and phone from my car. That's when I noticed something weird. The tow truck's license plate was covered in mud, completely unreadable. And there were no company markings anywhere on the truck except that faded logo on his jacket. I watched him in my rearview mirror as he started setting up to tow. Something felt wrong. He kept looking at my car, then at the empty highway, then back at my car, like he was checking if anyone else was around. And my phone buzzed. Just once. I looked down and saw I had 1 bar of signal. Just 1 bar for just a few seconds. My hands were shaking as I opened my messages and sent a quick text to my sister. Broke down. Highway 95 near mile marker 103. Guy with tow truck stopped. The signal dropped again immediately. I heard footsteps approaching my driver's side window. The tow truck driver was standing there, staring at me through the glass. You coming or what? Truck's all hooked up. Something in my gut screamed at me not to get in that truck. Actually, I said through the cracked window, I'm going to wait for a AAA. They should be here soon. His expression changed. The fake friendliness vanished. You called AA? Yeah, before you showed up. You said you had no signal. My blood ran cold. I never said that out loud. He just knew. Friend called them for me, I lied. He stared at me for what felt like an eternity. Then he nodded slowly. Suit yourself. But AA won't come out here till morning. Long wait in the dark. He looked out at the black desert. Lots of things happen in the dark. He walked back to his truck, unhooked my car, and drove off. His headlights disappeared into the distance, and I was alone again. I locked every door and sat there in the dark for 3 hours. The longest 3 hours of my life. Every shadow looked like someone approaching. Every sound made me jump. Finally, just before dawn, a highway patrol officer pulled over. He'd been flagged by my sister, who'd gotten my text and called 911. When I told him about the tow truck driver, his face went pale. White tow truck? No readable plates? Yeah, you know him? The officer hesitated. There's been incidents. On this highway. People breaking down, Getting approached by a tow truck driver fitting that description, 3 of them got in his truck. They found 2 of them days later, wandering in the desert miles away, completely traumatized. Wouldn't talk about what happened. What about the 3rd? He just looked at me. They never found the 3rd. They towed my car to the nearest town. Mechanic found something I'll never forget. My fuel line had been cut, cleanly, deliberately. Someone had sabotaged my car. To this day, I think about how he showed up so quickly after I broke down, how he knew exactly where I'd be. And I think about those 3 people who got in his truck. I got lucky because my phone got signal for just a few seconds, just long enough to send that text. The police never found him. For all I know, he's still out there on that empty highway, waiting for the next person to break down in the middle of nowhere. This happened to me. I'm a photographer. I specialize in abandoned places. Ghost towns, old buildings, that sort of thing. I've been to dozens of them all over the country. They're usually peaceful. Sad, maybe, but peaceful. This one was different. I'd found it on an old map while researching locations in Montana. It was called Ashfield, population 0 since 1987. The map showed it was about 40 miles off the main highway, down a dirt road. Perfect. I drove out there on a Saturday morning in October. The dirt road was rough, barely visible in places, overgrown with brush. I almost turned back twice, but I'd driven too far to give up. When I finally reached the town, it took my breath away. About 20 buildings, all wooden, weathered gray. A main street with a general store, a saloon, a church at the far end. Everything intact, frozen in time. I parked my car at the edge of town and grabbed my camera gear. It was eerily quiet. No birds, no insects, just wind moving through the empty buildings. I started photographing the general store. The windows were broken, but you could still see products on the shelves inside. Canned goods covered in dust. A faded Coca-Cola sign. That's when I noticed the footprints. Fresh footprints. In the dust on the wooden sidewalk. Leading from the general store toward the saloon. I'm not usually a nervous person, but something about those footprints made my stomach drop. They were recent. Very recent. And I was supposed to be alone out here. "Hello?" I called out. My voice echoed down the empty street. No response. Maybe a hiker, I thought. Or another photographer. I followed the footprints to the saloon. The front door was ajar. The footprints went inside and didn't come back out. Anyone in there? I pushed the door open. It creaked loud enough to wake the dead. The interior was dark. Dust particles floated in the shafts of light coming through the broken windows. There was an old bar, tables with chairs still around them, a piano in the corner. The footprints led to the stairs at the back of the room. Going up, I should have left right then. Every instinct told me to get back in my car and drive away, but I'm stubborn and curious. Bad combination. I climbed the stairs. They groaned under my weight. At the top was a hallway with 4 doors. 3 were open, revealing empty rooms. 1 was closed. The footprints led to the closed door. I stood there for a full minute, my hand on the doorknob, my heart hammering. Then I opened it. The room was empty. Completely empty. No furniture, no debris, nothing. Just bare wooden walls and floor. But the footprints were there. They led to the center of the room and just stopped. Like whoever made them had vanished into thin air. I backed out of the room, my camera forgotten. Something was very wrong here. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Downstairs, walking across the saloon floor. I froze at the top of the stairs, listening. The footsteps were slow, deliberate, walking from table to table. Then they stopped, right at the bottom of the stairs. I couldn't see anyone, but I could feel them, looking up at me. "Who's there?" My voice cracked. No answer. Just silence. Heavy, oppressive silence. Then the footsteps started coming up the stairs, one at a time. Slow, methodical. I ran. Down the hallway to the other end where there was a window. I climbed out onto a small roof, jumped down to the ground behind the saloon. Pain shot through my ankle, but I didn't care. I ran back to my car, not looking back. I fumbled with my keys, finally got the door open, started the engine. As I threw the car into reverse, I looked at the saloon. There was someone in the second-story window, watching me. A silhouette, completely still, just watching me drive away. When I got home, I looked up the history of Ashfield. What I found made me throw up. The town wasn't abandoned because people left. It was abandoned because of murders. In 1987, 6 people were killed in that saloon over a 3-day period. The killer was never found. On the 4th day, the entire remaining population packed up and left. Every single person. They never came back. The last murder happened in the upstairs room, the one where the footprints stopped. I deleted every photo I took that day. I never went back to Ashfield. And I never photograph abandoned buildings alone anymore. But sometimes, late at night, I think about that silhouette in the window, the way it stood so still, just watching me leave. And I wonder if whoever killed those people in 1987 ever really left that town at all. I worked for the Forest Service for 10 years. I've spent hundreds of nights alone in the wilderness. I've seen bears, cougars, all kinds of wildlife. None of that ever scared me. But what happened at Ridgeline Ranger Station in November 2020 made me quit my job. The station is about 15 miles into the Willamette National Forest. No road access. You have to hike in. It's a small cabin, maybe 20 feet by 20 feet, with a radio, a wood stove, and basic supplies. Rangers stay there for week-long shifts, monitoring the forest, checking on trails, that sort of thing. I'd been there dozens of times. It was always peaceful. This time started normal. I hiked in on a Monday morning, settled in, made my first radio check-in. The weather was cold but clear, perfect autumn day. The first 2 nights were uneventful. I spent my days hiking the trails, checking for damage or hazards. Evenings, I'd sit by the fire, read, listen to the forest. On the 3rd night, things changed. I was sitting at the small table eating dinner when I heard it. Footsteps, outside, walking around the cabin. Now, I'm experienced enough to know animal sounds. These weren't animal sounds. These were bipedal, human, walking slowly around the perimeter of the cabin, like they were looking for a way in. I grabbed my flashlight and went to the window. Shined the light out into the darkness. Nothing. Just trees and shadows. The footsteps stopped. I waited, listening. 5 minutes of silence. Then the footsteps started again, continuing around the cabin. I went to the other window. Again, nothing visible in the flashlight beam. This went on for an hour, footsteps circling the cabin, but nothing visible outside. I radioed base camp. This is Ridgeline Station. Possible person near my location. Over. Static. Then. Copy Ridgeline. Are you in danger? Over. Negative. But someone's walking around the cabin. Can't see them. Over. Ridgeline. There's no one else in that sector. Nearest hikers are 10 miles south. Probably an animal. Over. It's not an animal. Over. More static. Ridgeline. Stay inside. Monitor the situation. Radio if it escalates. Over. The footsteps continued until midnight. Then they stopped. Complete silence. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the table with my knife, watching the door, waiting. Morning came. I went outside to look for tracks. Found them immediately. Footprints. Human. Boot prints, to be specific. They circled the cabin exactly as I'd heard. Round and round, dozens of times. But here's what made my blood run cold. The prints only circled the cabin. They didn't come from anywhere. They didn't leave anywhere. They just started and ended at the same point, right next to the cabin wall. Like whoever made them had appeared next to the cabin and vanished at the same spot. I should have hiked out right then. But I radioed base camp instead, reported what I'd found. They told me to document it with photos and continue my shift. Said they'd send someone to check it out in a few days. That night, I made sure everything was locked tight. Barricaded the door with the table. Kept my knife close. Around 2 a.m., I heard it again. Footsteps. But this time, they weren't outside. They were on the roof. Back and forth, back and forth. Heavy footsteps like someone pacing. The wooden roof creaked under the weight. I sat there, frozen, staring at the ceiling. The footsteps went on for 10 minutes, then they stopped, right above where I was sitting. I could feel eyes on me, through the ceiling, staring down. Then 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, right above my head. I grabbed my pack and ran, didn't even take everything. Just my essentials and my radio. Unbarricaded the door and sprinted out into the darkness. I hiked through the forest for 6 hours straight, used my headlamp. Didn't care about conserving battery, didn't care about being safe. I just needed to get away from that cabin. When I reached the trailhead at dawn, there was a ranger truck waiting. They'd heard my panicked radio call when I left the station. I told them everything. They sent a team to investigate. When they got there, they found something that still haunts me. Inside the cabin, on the table where I'd barricaded the door, there was a message, scratched into the wood with something sharp. Why did you leave? The investigation determined that no one had been near that station in weeks. The scratches on the table were made from inside the cabin, and the boot prints outside matched no known hiker or ranger. They shut down Ridgeline Station permanently. Said it was due to budget cuts. But I know the real reason. There's something in those woods. Something that walks like a person, but isn't. Something that doesn't like being alone. I live in the city now. I don't even go camping anymore. Because I know what's out there in the middle of nowhere. And I know it's still waiting at that cabin, wondering why I left. This is going to sound impossible. I know how it sounds. But I swear on everything, I love that this happened exactly as I'm telling you. Last summer, I took a solo road trip through Wyoming. I'd just gone through a bad breakup and needed to clear my head. I wasn't really following any plan. Just driving, taking random turns, seeing where I ended up. Around sunset, I found myself on this tiny back road. No signs. No markers. Just a 2-lane road cutting through empty prairie. I hadn't seen another car in over an hour. My gas light came on. I checked my phone. No signal, and my GPS was useless. But I figured the road had to lead somewhere eventually. I drove for another 30 minutes. The sun was setting, painting everything orange and red. It would have been beautiful if I wasn't so worried about running out of gas. Then my phone rang. I jumped. I still had no signal. No bars. But my phone was ringing. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? Static. Heavy static. Then a voice. Female. Distant. Don't stop. What? I can't hear you. Whatever you do, don't stop driving. Who is this? Keep going. Doesn't matter. If you run out of gas, don't stop. Don't get out of the car. The line went dead. I looked at my phone. Still no signal. Call duration. 43 seconds. My hands were shaking. Wrong number? I told myself. Just a wrong number with bad reception. But something in that voice... the urgency. The fear. I kept driving. 10 minutes later, I saw something on the side of the road ahead. A figure. Standing there. Just standing, facing the road. As I got closer, my headlights illuminated it. A woman. Young, maybe mid-20s. She was wearing a white dress. Her hair was wet, hanging in her face. She was barefoot. She raised her hand, a clear signal to stop. I remembered the phone call. Don't stop. I drove past her. As I did, she turned to watch me go. I saw her face in my rearview mirror, pale, empty eyes. And she was smiling. My phone rang again. Same unknown number. Hello? Thank God you listened. Keep going. You're almost there. Almost where? Who are you? The gas station is 2 miles ahead. When you get there, park under the lights. Do not go inside until sunrise. No matter what, I do and understand. Who she follow you? She's following you right now. Check your mirror. I looked in my rearview mirror. My heart stopped. The woman in the white dress was running behind my car. Not jogging, full-on sprinting, and she was keeping up. My speedometer read 55 miles per hour. No human can run that fast. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Stay calm, keep driving. She can't enter the light yet to the gas station. I pressed the accelerator. 60, 65, 70. The woman kept pace, her white dress flowing behind her, her face expressionless. Then I saw it. Lights ahead. A gas station. Small run down, but the lights were on. I pulled in, tires screeching, and parked directly under the brightest light. I looked in my mirror. The woman had stopped at the edge of the darkness, maybe 50 feet away. She just stood there, staring at my car, still smiling. My phone rang. You made it. You re-safe as long as you stay in the light. She can't come into the light. Who are you? How do you know about this? Silence. Then, I didn't listen 3 years ago. I stopped when she asked me to. By the time I realized what she was, it was too late. Double quotes. I don't understand. What happens when you stop, when you get out of the car? She is still wearing my dress, the white one. I was wearing it that night. My blood turned to ice. You single quotes dead. I've been trying to warn people, anyone who drives that road, but most people do and answer. Or they don't listen. You listened. How are you calling me? I don't know. I just knew you were coming. I could feel it. And I knew she was waiting. I looked at the woman in white. She hadn't moved. Still staring. What does she want? To not be alone. She has been out here for a long time, longer than me. She collects people, everyone who stops. Everyone who gets out of their car. We all still here somewhere in the dark, and we can't leave. Tears were streaming down my face. How do I get out of here? Wait until sunrise. When the sun comes up, she be gone, then drive. Don't come back to this road ever. What's your name? A pause. Amy Richardson, if you make it out, tell my family, tell them. I tried to come home, tell them I'm sorry, I stopped. The line went dead. I sat in my car all night. The woman in white never moved. Never blinked. Just stared. Other figures appeared from the darkness. Men, women, even children. All standing at the edge of the light. All staring at me with empty eyes. All wearing the clothes they died in. When the sun started to rise, they faded, one by one, like they'd never been there. The gas station was abandoned, boarded up, looked like it hadn't been open in decades. I drove away as fast as I could. I found the highway 20 minutes later and didn't stop until I was in a city full of people and light. I researched Amy Richardson, found her missing person report from 2019. Last seen on a back road in Wyoming. Her car was found abandoned, empty gas tank. She was never found. Her family still has a Facebook page up, hoping she'll come home. I tried to contact them, to tell them what she told me, but what could I say? That I talked to their dead daughter on a road that doesn't exist on any map? That she saved my life? That she's sorry? I've never been able to find that road again. I've looked at maps, satellite images, driven through Wyoming 3 times trying to retrace my route. It's like it doesn't exist. But I still have the call log on my phone. Unknown number. 43 seconds. Then another call, 6 minutes, 12 seconds. And sometimes late at night, my phone will ring. No caller ID. When I answer, all I hear is static and distant voices. Voices of people who stopped. People who got out of their cars. People who are still there in the darkness trying to warn the next person who takes that wrong turn. I don't answer anymore. But I think about Amy Richardson, and I wonder how many others are out there trapped on back roads that don't exist, trying to save people they'll never meet. The middle of nowhere isn't empty. It's full of people who didn't make it out. And they're all still trying to find their way home. 4 people, 4 encounters in the middle of nowhere. Each of them survived because they trusted their instincts, because they recognized when something was wrong, because they didn't ignore that voice in their head screaming at them to run. Marcus never found out what that tow truck driver wanted. Sarah never learned who was in that ghost town. David quit his job rather than find out what was walking on that roof. And Jennifer still carries the weight of those voices on that road, knowing she made it out, but so many others didn't. The middle of nowhere isn't just a place. It's a state of being. It's when you're completely alone, completely vulnerable, and something decides that you've wandered into its territory. So the next time you're driving down an empty highway at night, or exploring an abandoned building, or hiking a trail where no one will find you for days, remember these stories, because the middle of nowhere is exactly where it wants you. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there. And remember, you're never really alone.